No one attacked Earth. No one ever had. In a galaxy overflowing with conquest where empires rose and burned. Entire star systems just to prove their dominance, one small blue planet was left untouched. It orbited its yellow sun in quiet defiance of galactic chaos. Alien children whispered it like a bedtime warning. Don't go near Earth. That's the rule. Alien admirals debated it like a riddle. How has no one claimed them? Why do they remain unbroken? The galaxy feared Earth, but no one remembered why. The Tsar, Dominion, a predatory empire that fed on weakness, finally grew tired of the mystery. Their fleets stretched across half a spiral arm. Their soldiers crushed rebellion wherever it dared spark. Their rulers demanded expansion without end. Yet Earth remained a void on their maps, unclaimed, unexplained, and untested. It offended them. High Chancellor Varric stood before a star map, in his obsidian war chamber, claws tapping the surface where Earth glowed faintly. Around him, Dominion. Generals shifted uneasily. "Explain to me," Varric hissed, "why this planet still spins free. Why do we allow this insult to exist?" One general cleared his throat. "There are records, Chancellor. Warnings left by older civilizations. They say Earth is not to be superstition," Varric snapped. His crimson eyes narrowed. "On the lonely blue dot. We are not children to be frightened by shadows. We are Tsar, and the galaxy bends to us." He tapped the world once more. "Send scouts. I want answers." The first Tsar probe slipped through the void, a spear of obsidian metal cloaked against detection. It drifted past the pale rings of Saturn, slid silently through Jupiter's shadow, and set its course toward Earth. Its cameras flickered online notions, glittered like spilled glass. Continents spread like ancient scars. Cities sparkled faintly beneath the atmosphere. The Tsar. It was laughable. No planetary defense grid. No orbital fortresses. No grand fleet patrolling the skies. Just Earth. Primitive. The Dominion commander muttered. This should have been hours, centuries ago. And yet suspicion lingered. Because when the probe's transmission reached the Dominion flagship, the data was already corrupted. Someone had rewritten the files, swapping images, deleting coordinates, replacing real telemetry with nonsense. The engineers swore the probe had been untouched. No human weapon had fired on it. No satellite had intercepted it. But the evidence was undeniable. Someone was inside their systems, watching them, altering their work. The Dominion commander stiffened. How? They sent another probe. Faster, more shielded, coated with encryption no species had ever broken. This time, the probe vanished before it even reached Mars. Its signal was cut clean, as though it had been swallowed whole by the void. On Earth, humanity went about its day, children, walking to school. Traffic lights changing, soldiers drilling in quiet bases. No parades, no announcements, no visible defense. And yet, every time the Dominion looked closer, something was there. A satellite adjusting its orbit just before they could lock on. A ground transmission that echoed back their own encrypted code. Ships going dark, as if unseen hands reached through the void to switch them off. The Dominion expected resistance. They expected fire and fury, missiles and guns. Instead, they found silence. Silence that pressed down heavier than any weapon. "Chancellor?" Varric paced his chamber, claws scraping sparks from the floor. "They are mocking us," he growled. "They see us." And for the first time in decades, the Predator Empire felt the faintest taste of praise, unease. No empire in the galaxy had ever seen a world so unguarded, yet so untouchable. The Tsar Dominion doubled its efforts. If probes could be tampered with, if signals could vanish without trace, then Earth must have hidden defenses. The thought that a backwater species could outwit the Dominion's intelligence network was intolerable, and so, the Dominion sent spies. The first was a signal interceptor, hidden on the far side of the moon. From there, it began to sift through Earth's transmissions, television, radio, encrypted military chatter. To Tsar ears, it was chaos. Millions of human voices all talking at once. A storm of sound and static, but beneath the noise, the spy found something that made its spines curl. Human broadcasts were already listening back. Each Tsar decryption key failed. Each attempt to slip into Earth's systems ended not with rejection, but with an eerie mirror. Their own signals came echoing back, altered by human hands, rewritten as though Earth were mocking them word for word. The Dominion spy shut the feed down. It was impossible. This species wasn't advanced enough, and yet, the evidence was undeniable. Next, the Dominion planted agents among human networks. Synthetic identities, false digital footprints, perfect masks to infiltrate human databases. At first it worked. The agents walked through banking systems, military records, orbital schedules. They felt triumphant, invisible, until one night, every single false identity was erased. Databases flickered, and names, addresses, entire fabricated lives dissolved as if they had never existed. On Dominion control screens, the agents screamed for extraction, but their transmissions cut mid-word. Not killed, not traced, deleted. The Tsar High Command panicked. They launched their most advanced stealth drone, shielded against every known scan, with no communication tether to betray it. It was designed to slip unseen into Earth's atmosphere and vanish. For 3 days, they heard nothing. On the 4th day, the drone returned. Not under Dominion control. It drifted toward their flagship, its engines cold, its camera lenses burned black. Across its metal hull, a message had been carved deep, deliberate, unmistakable. "We see." Chancellor Varick stared at the drone, his throat tightening. The words glowed under the flagship's lights, each letter cut with surgical precision, as if made by a machine that understood intimidation perfectly. "Impossible," muttered one general. "They don't have the reach. They don't have the Varick." Cut him off with a growl. "Don't speak to me of what they don't have. They have already been inside our systems. They erased our agents, and now they send this. The war." Chamber fell silent. For the first time, Dominion officers felt what their enemies usually felt before them being hunted. Meanwhile, Earth said nothing. No governments released warnings. No military powers postured with threats. No fleets appeared in orbit. To the humans, life moved on traffic in cities, cargo ships sliding across oceans, children laughing in playgrounds. But behind the quiet, something was clear. Every attempt to pierce Earth's veil ended the same way. Spies erased. Ships disabled. Secrets rewritten. Earth was not reacting like prey. Earth was reacting like a predator who had already marked the Tsar. If they know everything, we try. What else have they already done? How much of our empire do they already see? No one answered because deep down, they feared the truth. The Dominion had ruled for centuries. They had crushed fleets, erased species, and rewritten history to glorify themselves. But even they could not erase the unease gnawing at their empire's heart. Every attempt to breach Earth's secrets had failed. Every move ended in silence, sabotage, or humiliation. And so Chancellor Varick demanded a different approach. "Find me the past," he ordered. "Dig into the archives. Somewhere, someone must have recorded why this world is avoided. I want to know what frightened empires before us." The order sent ripples across Dominion space. Archivists, intelligence officers, and spies scoured forgotten databanks, black market vaults, even ruins of civilizations the Tsar had long since conquered. What they found was fragments, whispers, nothing whole, on a frozen moon at the edge of a dead system. Tsar agents unearthed a vault sealed for over 5,000 years. Inside were crystalline memory shards, etched with the testimonies of a species that no longer existed. The fragments were corrupted, voices breaking with static, but the terror in them was unmistakable. One alien voice trembled. They look like us. They bleed like us. But they do not stop. Even when their world burned, even when their skies fell, they fought on. And when the last of us begged for peace, they only stared. The shard ended in silence. We thought them weak. We thought them divided. We thought wrong. They will sacrifice everything, even themselves, to take victory from your hands. They are not like us. They are something else. Something that endures. Half the shard was shattered as if someone had destroyed it deliberately in the Dominion war chambers. Officers shifted uneasily. These are ancient exaggerations. One scoffed, though his claws clicked nervously on the table. Primitive. Myth. The humans couldn't have fought empires when they still carried spears. But others weren't so sure. If Earth's danger had been recorded by civilizations long before the Dominion's rise, then what did that mean? What had humanity done, in their distant past, that left galaxies trembling? The unease deepened when they uncovered evidence of erasure. Star maps with whole sectors deliberately blacked out. Records abruptly ending the moment Earth was mentioned. Testimonies cut short mid-sentence, as if silenced. Varric's eyes narrowed. Who erased these records? No one answered. Because the truth was worse than ignorance. If the records were erased, then someone, perhaps humanity itself, wanted the galaxy to forget. And the Dominion was about to remember. The final shard they recovered was the most chilling. A cracked, unstable piece, barely readable. It's holographic. Projection flickering in the chamber. They should not be here. This was not their war. But when we came for them, they turned the stars against us. They made the void itself their weapon. I pray this record never reaches another hand. Because if it does, it means they still remain. The shard collapsed into static, leaving only silence. For the first time, the Dominion's generals did not clamor for war. They shifted in their armor, eyes lowered, as if the shadows of the past reached out to clutch their throats. But Chancellor Varric smiled, sharp and cruel. Good, he hissed. So they have a reputation. So they frightened weaker species. That only means we will be greater when we break them. He gestured toward Earth's glowing dot on the star map. The galaxy forgot because it grew soft. We are not soft. We are not soft. We will remind Earth what it means to face the Dominion. The chamber was silent. None dared say what all of them thought, that perhaps it was Earth who would be doing the reminding. The Dominion had heard the whispers. They had unearthed the fragments of history. They had seen their probes and spies vanish into silence, but still, they did not believe. Chancellor Varric snarled at his generals, claws dragging sparks from the war table. Enough of games and shadows. I want proof. Send a warship. Let Earth look into the eyes of the Dominion and tremble. A single dreadnought was chosen, the Black Fang, a ship that had reduced worlds to ash, its cannons capable of boiling seas and splitting mountains. Cloaked and silent, it slipped across the void toward Earth. The galaxy watched in silence. Number 1 interfered. No one warned. They had seen this play before, and they knew what was coming. The Black Fang arrived in Earth's orbit under cover of invisibility. Its hull cloaked against every scan. Inside the command deck, Tsar officers whispered, with predatory excitement. There are no orbital defenses. No fleets waiting. Just a fragile world spinning helplessly. The commander bared his teeth. Target their communication hubs. Disable their power grids. Let them know we are here. He gave the order, and nothing happened. On the view screens, weapon systems flashed error. Cannons refused to charge. Engines cycled down without command. Even life support systems flickered. The great dreadnought groaned like a wounded beast, powerless in the dark. Panic rippled across the deck. Diagnostics. Reboot power relays. Override safeties. But the ship ignored its masters, shutting down piece by piece. Lights dimmed to red, then black. The Dominion's war machine had been reduced to a drifting corpse above the blue planet. The commander's scales shivered. We are compromised. Then, across the silence, a voice cut through every system. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't angry. It was calm. To calm, we see you. The words echoed in perfect Tsar dialect, yet unmistakably human. No emotion, no threats. Just the quiet certainty of someone who had already won. The commander's throat tightened. Respond. Identify yourselves. Answer came. The ship shuddered. Control returned just long enough for the dreadnought to limp away, crippled and humiliated. Behind it, Earth turned slowly, silently, never firing a single shot. When the Black Fang limped back to Dominion space, its data cores were examined. Engineers tore the systems apart, looking for signs of sabotage, hacking, anything to explain the humiliation. They found nothing, no trace of intrusion, no foreign code, no mechanical sabotage, and yet every system log carried the same entry, repeated thousands of times at the exact instant of failure. We see you, in the war chamber, Dominion generals argued, voices sharp with unease. They disabled a dreadnought without touching it. Impossible. The humans don't have that reach. Then explain the logs. Explain the shutdowns. Silence fell. None could. Finally, Chancellor Varric rose. His eyes burned with fury, but beneath it flickered something rarer for a Tsar leader. Unease. They will not frighten us with tricks, he growled. They think silence makes them strong. We will answer with thunder. But as his words echoed through the chamber, more than one general found themselves glancing nervously at the star map, the small blue world spinning in quiet defiance. For the first time, the Dominion understood Earth was not weak. Earth was patient. Earth was watching. And, when Earth finally chose to act, the galaxy would see why no one had ever dared attack them. The Dominion had been humiliated. One warship, one of their finest, had been reduced to a drifting wreck without a single shot fired. Across the Empire, whispers spread. Rivals mocked in hushed voices. Citizens asked the question no one dared answer. If a single human world can do this, what happens if more of them rise? Chancellor Varric could not allow the shame to stand. Send the fleet, he ordered, his claws raking lines into the star map. No more shadows, no more silence. We will show them what it means to defy the Dominion. And so, an armada was dispatched, dozens of warships, bristling with weapons, their black holes cutting through the void like fangs bared for blood. This time, Earth would not face whispers in the dark. This time, Earth would face the full fury of an empire. The Dominion fleet entered the solar system with shields raised and weapons primed. They crossed Neptune's orbit, engines flaring like suns, the commander's voice sharp with triumph. There are no fleets here, no empires waiting, just rock and ice. Earth will bow before the Dominion. The ships moved inward, past Uranus, past Saturn's rings that glittered in silence. The fleet laughed at the emptiness. No resistance, no defenses, and then something moved. At first, they thought it was a glitch. A cluster of asteroids shifted, changing formation with impossible precision. Then, plates unfolded, revealing cannons the size of towers. Energy signatures flared, brighter and hotter than Dominion warships had ever recorded. The commander's voice faltered. That's impossible. Another asteroid cracked open, its rocky shell falling away, to reveal a station bristling with weapons. What had seemed like debris now pulsed with power. Hidden fortresses, disguised as lifeless stone, turning one by one to face the intruders. And still, more awoke. Satellites long thought abandoned unfolded into railguns and particle beams. Moons lit with hidden energy grids. Even the dust of the asteroid belt shimmered faintly, laced with mines waiting for trespassers. The void itself had been turned into a trap. The Dominion fleet slowed. Their bravado drained into silence. This entire system, it's a fortress. The trap sprung. Without warning, a single asteroid weapon fired, a brilliant lance of energy that carved a Dominion cruiser in half. Another fortress lit the void, shredding a destroyer before it could raise its shields. The armada staggered. Orders shouted. Shields raised. Return fire unleashed. But the humans hadn't built just weapons. They had built silence into strength. Each fortress fired and vanished. Again, slipping behind cloaks and rock. Railguns struck from hidden vectors. Mines detonated without warning. Every Dominion shot hit only emptiness. The fleet realized too late. They weren't in battle. They were in an execution. Ships screamed distress calls. Fire bloomed in the void. In less than an hour, a third of the Dominion armada was gone, and the rest limped backward, retreating through the asteroid belt with panic clawing their throats. Not once had Earth revealed its fleets. Not once had humanity itself spoken. Only the system had spoken. Stone and silence turned into weapons sharper than any blade. When the survivors limped home, Chancellor Varick's fury burned hotter than suns. But beneath the rage, beneath the humiliation, the Dominion's officers could no longer deny the truth. Earth was not undef and deed. Earth had never been undeft the solar system itself had been forged into a fortress, and it had been waiting. The Dominion fleet limped home, shattered, ships burned. Crews whispered of fortresses hidden in stone, of weapons that fired without warning, of mines that glowed like ghosts in the void. But Chancellor Varick was not finished. They hide behind rocks and tricks, he snarled to his generals. But stone and metal cannot stand forever. We will break the humans in the oldest way. We will break their spirit. His plan was simple, not weapons, not fleets, fear. From the edges of the solar system, Dominion transmitters began their assault. They broadcast terror into Earth's skies, threats of annihilation, promises of cities burned to ash, oceans boiled, skies ripped open. We are the Dominion, the messages roared in a dozen human tongues. Your fortresses will crumble, your species will kneel. The stars belong to us, and soon, so will you. The Dominion expected panic. They expected riots in the streets, governments surrendering, civilians begging for mercy. That was how most species crumbled, long before the first shot was fired. But Earth's response was nothing. In New York, the skyline glowed as usual, traffic horns blaring, life unchanged. In Beijing, markets bustled, merchants haggling over fruit and steel. In Nairobi, children chased each other through sunlit streets, laughter ringing louder than any alien broadcast. In London, soldiers stood there, posts not frantic, not shaken, just calm, ready. The Dominion broadcasts screamed of destruction, but humanity did not waver. Instead, they continued living. On the Dominion flagship, confusion turned to unease. They don't believe us, one officer muttered. They should be afraid, another growled. Every species fears us, yet the humans did not, because humanity had already lived through its own nightmares. They had endured world wars, where skies burned red, bombs that split atoms, plagues that stalked cities unseen. They had rebuilt from fire and famine, from empires collapsing into dust, from their own self-inflicted wounds. The Dominion could not imagine it, a species that had already walked through hell and come out stronger. The broadcasts grew more vicious. They promised genocide, slavery, worlds turned into rubble. But on Earth, screens flickered with calm responses, leaders standing firm, not pleading, scientists monitoring the skies, not panicking, civilians continuing their lives, steady as stone. Humanity did not answer with threats. Humanity answered with silence, and silence was worse than rage. The Dominion officers began to whisper in private. If they do not fear annihilation, what will make them yield? They are not acting like prey. They are acting like us. And the thought hung heavier with every passing hour. Perhaps the humans were worse. Perhaps they were the predators the galaxy had tried to forget. On Earth, a single hidden broadcast whispered across the stars, never public, never loud. Just a ghost signal that slipped into Dominion channels. We have already survived the end of the world. What makes you think we won't survive you? No laughter, no defiance, just quiet certainty. The Dominion fleet fell silent. Their weapons still glowed. Their ships still loomed. But for the first time, they wondered if even victory would matter. Because what do you do when your enemy refuses to break? The Dominion had threatened Earth with fire. They had promised oceans would boil, cities would burn, skies would turn black. But the humans had not flinched. And then, things began to break. It started small. A supply fleet vanished in transit. Its last transmission cut mid-sentence, as if the stars themselves had swallowed it whole. Then, a Dominion outpost lost power. Entire defense grids went dark, shields collapsing, stations drifting dead in the void. Engineers tore through systems, searching for sabotage. They found nothing. At first, the Dominion thought it coincidence, random failure, bad luck. But then came the collapse of communications. Entire sectors fell silent. Colonies could no longer speak to the core. Orders were lost. Armies stood idle, fleets drifting with no command. Something was moving through the Dominion, something unseen. On the flagship, panic simmered beneath the surface. Sabotage. Internal rebellion. No, it's too precise. Reports poured in. Factories churning out weapons suddenly producing nothing but slag. Warships turning their guns inward and firing without orders. Critical databases wiped clean overnight. And every time they tried to trace the cause, every time they followed the ghost in their systems, they found the same message written deep in their code. We see you. The Dominion scrambled to retaliate. Their cyber divisions unleashed counterhacks, hunting for the infiltrators. But every attack collapsed back onto them, tracing their own codes, rewriting their own signals, turning their strengths into weaknesses. It was as if the humans had been inside their empire for years, waiting, patient, building threads of control so subtle the Dominion never noticed, until the day they pulled them all at once. No fleets of human warships appeared. No soldiers marched into Dominion territory. And yet, world by world, the empire began to wither. On one colony, food distribution networks failed overnight, leaving millions in silence and hunger. On another, weapons arsenals detonated without warning, entire cities reduced to firestorms. But the strangest thing was this: not every strike killed, not every attack destroyed. Sometimes, human retaliation was simply precision humiliation. A Dominion governor awoke to find his entire wealth transferred to his slaves. An admiral's war plans were leaked to his rivals before he even gave the order. A whole fleet turned up at the wrong coordinates, ambushed by enemies who somehow knew their every move. It wasn't just war. It was control. And the Dominion finally understood. Humanity didn't need to conquer with armies. They conquered by knowing, by seeing, by turning every weapon of their enemy against itself. Chancellor Varick stood before his silent war council, claws trembling against the obsidian table. His empire was unraveling, strand by strand, and he could not stop it. They should not have this power, he rasped. They are one world, one. No one answered, because by now, every general, every officer, every soldier understood it. Didn't matter that Earth was only one world. What mattered was that humanity was everywhere, inside everything, watching. The Tsar Dominion, for all its fleets and fortresses, was bleeding from invisible wounds, and the humans hadn't fired a single shot. The Tsar Dominion, an empire that had ruled the stars for centuries, was unraveling. Its fleets were stranded, its colonies cut off, its governors humiliated. its people whispering rebellion in streets once paved with fear. And the strangest thing, no human fleet had been seen, no human armies marched, no cities burned under human bombardment. It was as if Earth had raised a single finger, and the mightiest empire in the galaxy began to bleed. Across the stars, other civilizations watched. Worlds that had once cowered before the Dominion now listened to the silence that followed its threats. Traders whispered in markets. The Dominion went to Earth and came back broken. Ambassadors shared hushed reports. Their fleets fire blindly now, never knowing if the enemy is real or just a shadow. Even rival empires who had once dreamed of Earth now turned their eyes away, because the lesson was clear. The one world no one dared touch had earned its silence. But the galaxy still wanted answers. What made Earth untouchable? Why did even the most ruthless powers keep its name from their war councils? What was humanity hiding on that blue and green world, spinning quietly around a yellow star? Theories spread like wildfire. Some said humans had weapons older than the stars. Others swore Earth had allied with gods. A few whispered the most terrifying thought of all. Maybe they don't need weapons. Maybe the humans themselves are the weapon. In the Dominion's ruined war council, Chancellor Varric sat hollow-eyed. His empire had not fallen to fire or invasion. It had fallen to whispers in the dark. What now? There was no answer. Because how do you fight an enemy that never speaks, never shows, never bleeds, but always watches? Varric's claws curled against the table as he finally spoke. We forgot why Earth was left alone. We thought it was weakness. We were wrong. The galaxy remembered too late. And with those words, the Dominion entered history not as conquerors, but as the last. Fools who tested Earth. Back on Earth, life went on. Children still laughed in the streets. Workers still built, still dreamed, still reached for the stars. There were no parades, no declarations of victory. Humanity did not announce its triumph, because humanity had no need. Earth had always known the truth. The galaxy had forgotten now. It remembered, in time. The silence around Earth became the loudest warning in the galaxy. Maps of the stars still stretched wide, still marked borders, still showed trade routes. But when the lines reached the little blue world orbiting Sol, they always stopped. Not a single empire drew claim there. Not a single armada charted its course. Not a single invader dared whisper its name with hunger again. The galaxy had seen what happened to those who tried, and so the lesson spread, not in fire, but in silence. Do not attack Earth. Do not test its will. Do not wake the quiet predator that waits behind its blue skies and green fields, because the humans do not roar. They do not boast. They do not warn. They only endure. And when the time comes, they remind the stars why Earth was never touched.